So you mean I had a lazy eye all this time and it could have been fixed?
Oh no.
What is the next brilliant thing?
Eye surgeons.
Okay.
So I had double cataract operation a couple of years ago, and I can talk you through the operation, but it isn't nice. But the reason why I want to put them up there is because I love these kind of advances in medical technology that change people's lives. So my dad had a double cataracts in his early 40s. My grandma had double cataracts in her early 40s, and I've had the same. So it's like obviously hereditary. But I would probably be blind now without that operation. So it means that I can't see very close up. So that this list of 5 things, which you very kindly gave me to remind me, this is in focus, about there, but still out of focus.
Right. Okay.
So when you have a cataract operation, you get the choice basically: do you want to see a long way away, or do you want to see close up?
Right.
Or you can have one of each. And yes, I know.
Wow.
And I was saying to the surgeon, I don't know, what do you recommend? He's like, well, what do you spend more time doing? And I was like, well, looking in the distance. So I had these, like, they're fixed lenses, basically.
Yeah.
Should I tell you about the operation? Do you want to know?
Yeah, I do. Because I've had operations in my eyes. So
Have you? What have you had done?
So
Shall I just say, if you're squeamish, you can
Yeah.
just like forward on like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I think 2 minutes is about right for this.
So I've got a lazy eye that was corrected. So what happened is I had it when I was little.
Yeah.
One of my eyes was like right in the nose, and then it got moved. And I went to an optician's when I was probably 34.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, did you have a surgery when you were little?" I went, "Oh yeah." You know, he went, "And you haven't had it done since?" And I went, "Well, no, you can only have it done once, can't you?" And he was like, "No." And it was this moment where I was like, "So you mean I had a lazy eye all this time and it could have been fixed?"
Oh no.
And so so I went along.
Which one? I can't.
He was.
Oh, he did it.
It's since been corrected, but what they have to do is you're still awake, and they kind of like just move your pupils to kind of like with this kind of device. So and it's the freakiest feeling because you like don't sneeze, you don't want anything moved, and this lady was just kind of going, "Oh no, oh yeah."
And what are they moving it with?
With a kind of a needle, and they're just sort of it's pretty full on, but in your mind's eye, you want her to get it right because you don't want to go meso or you don't want to go too wide. So you kind of I've never been more present in my life of just kind of going, just make me look normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, incredible. But the very fact that they can do that, that they can with this device correct the way you look.
I love this sort of stuff.
So what happened with you then?
I was hosting the Community Shield probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I was sitting in the studio and I was watching the game. You know, so we do all our like preamble sometimes on the pitch, but we'll always go up to a studio and watch the match in the studio. So I'm looking out the window, and the ball's getting moved across the pitch at Wembley, and the ball keeps disappearing. And I saw it once. I thought that's weird. Like the ball disappeared. How ridiculous! And then it happens again, and then it happened again. And I was thinking, okay, I probably need to go to the opticians and find out what's going on here. And you have all these panicky thoughts, like what the fuck's wrong with me? Yeah. So I went to the opticians, and basically I had a lump in the eye, and what it had done is it had slightly sort of like altered what I was seeing like that, so that when I was seeing loads of green on the pitch at Wembley, there was a bit where the vision had twisted a bit. So when the ball went through that piece of vision, that vision was still seeing grass, even though the ball was in that bit of vision, and it would go ball, green, ball. And so she said, you need to go and see an eye surgeon. So I went to see an eye surgeon, and he looked for this issue at the back of my eye, and he said, it happens sometimes and it's corrected itself, which is great. He said, but you have got a cataract, which was not really a surprise because I knew my dad had them. So he booked me in for cataract surgery, and it is the most disgusting experience of my life because I don't know how long your operation lasted. This was like 6 or 7 minutes.
Right.
No more than that.
Right.
And did you have the thing where they clamp your eye open?
Yeah.
So they put the metal
Proper,
bracket
like,
in and open your eye.
Yeah.
And then they did this thing on me where they sort of rolled a mat over my face. Did you have that?
I can't remember. I don't
So
think
they clamp it open and they put this like rubber sticky mat and unfurl it over your eye, and then peel the middle off. So obviously everything's covered up apart from here. You've got like a hole.
Have that. Yeah.
And then they bring a light in, and just like you're not rigid or fixed in position. You're just like in a dentist's chair, and they've given you some numbing eye drops, and this light comes in here, and then suddenly from here comes a scalpel towards your eyeball. And as is the most natural thing in the world, you go like that and you look at this, and the surgeon was like, I need you to not look at the scalpel, just stare at the light, right? So you
Don't
stare.
look at the knife that's going in your
Oh,
eye.
mate.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
stare, and then you feel some pressure, and you're like, I feel pressure, and then you don't feel any pressure because they've popped your eyeball,
Yeah.
and then it feels freezing cold. And I said to him afterwards, why did it feel so cold? And he's like, well, once we go into the eyeball, like it deflates, so we have to keep it inflated.
Yeah.
You probably had the same thing with like fluid that's come out of the fridge, so that's why your eye feels so cold.
Yeah.
And then they have to use this tool to basically break up the lens, which is covered in a cataract, suck it out, and then you're blind because they've removed your lens, right? So everything just looks like white and cloudy. Then in comes another lens in its place.
And you're back in glorious Technicolor.
And then you're back in glorious Technicolor eventually. You know, it takes a couple of days, and they stitch you up. But I was wobbling because I hated it so much. I was like wobbling my feet like this.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's really helpful if you stay a bit still, because I'm trying to operate on your eyeball, and I'm just thinking clamp my head or something, because I'm like, it's the strangest thing having your eyes played with. But I'm very grateful for the work they did.
So what you're grateful for is the fact that we live in a world where some genius figured out how to get rid of these things.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and we interviewed Bear Grylls, right, on High Performance a few weeks ago, and I said to him, look, you're now 50, and he kind of stopped me and went, well, I'm not. And you know when you're interviewing someone and you suddenly think, shit, I've got my stats wrong here. I'm certain this guy was 50 years old.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm not 50. He goes, I'm 25% of the way through. And I said, do you think that? And he said, absolutely. He said, the advances in medical technology with AI and everything else coming in means people these days are going to live to 200, and I plan to get that far. And that might be a bit fanciful. I mean, it's certainly optimistic, which we've already discussed, is a great trait. But I really think, like, the amount of information that we can get. So I have like a Whoop and an Aura ring and an 8 Sleep mattress, all of which are giving you like feedback on your body. I do a thing called Thriver, which is like a blood test every 6 months, which measures loads of stuff in your blood. I love the fact that we're moving away from this mindset that you're going to get ill and we'll treat it when you do.
Yeah.
And we're moving towards this world where we'll be getting constant information about your body, and then we'll treat you before you get ill. You know, we have a girl that works on High Performance, right? She got a Whoop and got a message from her Whoop saying, you perhaps need to go to a GP. Went to the GP and needed a heart operation. That sort of stuff is happening now, and I think it's really exciting.